Pero enough for the controllers. Ito, iba din to. This is another thing where, just to review, just to go back a little bit. So, in terms of specs, we can pretty much say, this will be a little bit controversial, but we can pretty much say the PS5 and the Xbox are almost the same in terms of specs.
Sige,
So
sige.
we're gonna have to look for intangibles, and one of the intangibles we just talked about was the controller, and the other one that's actually really big
Yan na.
are the games.
Yun talaga.
Yan.
Exclusive
The games, man.
Gusto ko yan.
And then when it comes down to it, as a gamer, you're there for the
For
game.
the game.
Siyempre,
You know?
Siyempre.
And sadly, the Xbox launched with no launch games. Wala siyang launch games. Well,
PS5 din naman.
may Miles Morales.
Miles Morales.
Yeah, when it came out. And then Godfall came out like a few weeks later. So, but, pero,
kasi yung Miles, pwede mo laruin sa PS4 eh.
yes.
Kaya parang hindi ko pa rin, para sa akin parang hindi ko siya kino-consider na fully...
As a full, as a total like launch game talaga.
Na for next gen lang na pucha bawal na yung mga PS4 na yan. Wala, parang ganun.
Pero may konting performance differentiation between the Miles Morales on the PS4 and the Miles Morales on the
Yung upgrade,
PS5.
yung next gen upgrade.
Which what I've neglected to mention is what makes these next gen consoles next gen. So as
Frames.
as PC gamers, yung 60 frames per
frames.
second, the 60 frames per second is something that we're all used to. Di ba? Pag
You
sabihin mo
gotta have
60
them.
frames, tatawanan ka lang ng PC gamer. That's not basic na yan sa amin.
Basic yan eh.
60 FPS.
I got 240 hertz, man.
Full HD? What? I've been playing in 1440p for ages. Parang ganyan ba? And then, when I went through the notes and everything and the reviews, dun ko lang na-realize na yung Xbox One was locked at 30 frames per second.
Minsan hindi pa eh.
So, yun na yung pinaka-lowest siguro, 30 frames per second. And then that's okay.
Yun na yung lowest playable na hindi ka mababother.
Oh, that's okay. I mean, movies are in 24, 30 frames per second. That's okay. But, man, when you're playing games, you want that smooth, buttery frames per second, man.
The frames.
And di pala ginagawa ng mga consoles yun dati. But now, as another example of
Pati
consoles
resolution eh.
trying to live up to the PC standards,
Locked.
they're
sa 60.
they're trying to get locked 60. And then not only that, Xbox is even promising
Higher.
up to 120
120.
in what they call performance mode. Pero syempre depende talaga sa TV mo.
Yep.
Because like gaming monitors, 120 is almost the lowest now that you can get. A 60 frame per second or a 60 hertz monitor is an office monitor, man. Pag bili ka ng gaming monitor, matic 120 hertz na yan. 120 frames per second.
Basta banggitin mo, pang gaming, ganyan. Iisipin na agad nung dude sa store na parang, 120 hinahanap dito or up 144 usually.
144. Ano ba yung highest? 210?
May lumabas na parang 300 plus na eh. Nandun na sa ganun eh. So parang, para sa mga pros, sila na yung nakakapansin nun eh. Pero sa mga normal na gamers, siguro yung 144, grabe na sa mata yun. As in, orgasmic na siya.
Yun yung gusto ko ma-experience.
Orgasm.
Yes.
Tsaka yung resolution din. Diba? Kasi dati yung sa PS3 nga naalala ko, tsaka kahit sa PS4 tsaka Xbox One, naalala ko na may mga games na sinasabi nila 1080p pero pag tiningnan mo talaga, hindi siya 1080p eh. May mga ganun.
Yung one of the tricks na ginagawa ng consoles is either locked frame sila and then variable resolution. So ang gawin ng processor and GPU, they will try to stay at 30 frames per second.
Visuals.
And then let's say yung console mo is an HD, so it plays in 1080p. Pero if it locks the frames at 30 frames per second, then what it does, para ma-maintain yung 30 frames per second, pag mga high-stress environments in the game, i-downscale niya yung resolution. So the resolution will go down. Baka minsan...
Lalabo bigla.
Bababa siya all the way to 720. Pero hindi mo na mapansin yon on the TV.
Pag magulo na yung nangyayari sa screen. Parang...
Pero yun yung mga tricks ng consoles. And then sometimes, if nakalock talaga yung 1080p na resolution, minsan variable frame rates naman.
Yep.
So if hindi niya kaya i-maintain yung 1080p at 30, ibababa niya 24, 26 para basta ma-maintain lang yung 1080. So it really depends on the strategy that the console uses.
Kasi naalala ko sa ibang PC habang hinahanap ni Henry yung yung iba kong kaibigan na naglalaro ng Destiny 2. Shoutout nga pala kay Francis Josep. Yung ibang kilala kong naglalaro, pag competitive, kunyari PvP, ganyan, yung iba ginagawa nila, nilalagay nila sa lowest setting yung visuals para parang yun nga, performance mode para yung ma-maximize yung FPS. Kumbaga maabot mo yung 144 or maabot mo yung 120. Pero yun nga, yung parang sa consoles na feeling ko kahit yung sa mga bago ngayon sa next gen sa PS5 tsaka sa Xbox Series X, parang yung performance mode feeling ko mababawasan ng onti yung visuals para ma-achieve yun. Lalo na sa pro scene kasi mas mahalaga sa mga pro players yung response time tsaka yung frames.
Accuracy.
Yes.
Mauna ako sa'yo, makita kita, mapatay kita agad parang ganun.
So yun, going back sa Miles Morales, yung differentiation between the PS4 Miles Morales and the PS5 is yun yung sinasabi mo na kaya niya mag 60 frames sa PS5 whereas on the PS4 hindi yata siya makaabot ng 60. 30 lang yung pinaka-stable niya. And then on the PS5 upscaled siya to 4K 60 whereas on the PS4 is not a 4K console. Yung PS4 Pro siguro.
Tama.
Pero if you're going 4K on the PS4 Pro on Miles Morales, hindi ka abot ng 60.
Hindi abot yun. Grabe graphics ng Miles Morales.
Yung weird lang is yung Xbox when they came out with the announcement and the conference and then yung pag-announce sila ng specs and what the hardware can achieve. The Xbox set specific targets talaga. Nag-promise talaga sila that 60 frames 4K was a fixed target and we can achieve that. And then we are promising on games that support it 120 frames per second if your TV supports it.
Yep.
Pero hindi na siya 60 frames. Hindi na siya 4K. 120 frames but it'll probably downscale to 1080. And then the other thing that the PlayStation doesn't have is 1440p. Wala 1440p ang PlayStation.
Pwede mo siyang i-play sa 1440p pero hindi yata siya mag-a-adjust. So parang weird. Sayang lang.
So it's either HD lang or 4K.
Walang...
Pero imagine, di ba, sabi mo nag-enjoy ka sa Ghost of Tsushima. And you're playing it on the PS4. Pero ang ganda na, di ba? Graphics are amazing.
Hindi yun, PS4 yun, di ba? Hindi Pro.
Hindi.
Pero grabe, ganda ng graphics, di ba? It's the same with Red Dead Redemption sa Xbox
Oh,
One S.
kahit Red Dead, yung ganda na
Ganda ng graphics. It seems almost visual. It seems almost photographic yung graphics niya. But that's only in 30 frames per second. May nag-post ng YouTube video. Ginawa nila yung 30 frames per second na Ghost of Tsushima. They use some kind of AI technology to make it 60 frames per second. Grabe ka smooth, Marts. Like, it's so awesome to look at Ghost of Tsushima in 60 frames. And that's what it would feel like if you played Ghost of Tsushima on the PS5. 60 frames. Buttery smooth, man.
Yun nga.
Order na, pre-order na.
Siyempre, mas nag-look forward ako sa 2K. Kasi yun yung...
Yan na.
yun ang kinaka-adikan namin ni Marco.
May nakita ko na meme sa Reddit. yung sabi niya, alam mo, maganda talaga yung graphics ng PS5. Kasi sa 2K21, makikita mo na yung hair implants ni LeBron James.
Totoo naman. Then, tsaka grabe kasi parang kung basketball fan ka, buong buhay mo gusto mo lang maging realistic yung mga games. Tapos sa PS5, malapit na Nandun na Nandun na talaga.
Grabe ba
Grabe yung visuals.
So yun. So these are the intangibles at the controller, the games. One last thing. Yung Xbox, yes, wala yung launch games and the exclusives are kind of weak.
Yep.
For now.
I mean, ganda ng God of War, ganda ng Spider-Man, ganda ng Horizon Zero Dawn, ganda ng Last of Us, ganda.
Yun talaga yung kulang ng Xbox.
The exclusives on the PlayStation are really playable. You want to play it. You want to buy the PlayStations, you can play it. Yung Xbox, yes, they have Halo. I mean, love ko yung Halo
But
universe.
you can play Halo on the
You
PC.
can play Halo
So
on the
parang
PC.
hindi na rin siya talaga exclusive eh. Yung weird ng Xbox ngayon eh.
May Ori. Have you guys heard of Ori and
yung Ori and the something
and the Blind?
forest.
Yeah, yun ganda. I played it. Exclusive yun sa Xbox. Ganda. Platformer. Ganda. But we can all admit that the Xbox exclusives are kind of weak. So they're trying to make up for that by binili nila yung ZeniMax Media.
Oh, ang dami din ang biniling studios.
And who knows, maybe in the future exclusive na yung Fallout.
Yep.
Exclusive na yung Elder Scrolls.
Skyrim.
Diba? Yun. Those would be massive games to be exclusive.
Yep.
But for now, the one thing na panglaban nila sa PlayStation game ecosystem is the Xbox Game Pass or the Microsoft Game Pass Ultimate, which is, in my mind, a really good deal.
Yep, wala nga hindi nga pinag-uusapan yun eh. Yun hindi ko maintindihan.
Parang, yeah, siguro, I don't know, yung Xbox marketing, at first, they were really focused on the Xbox, on the specs and everything.
Yeah, malakas to.
And then, siningit nila yung Xbox.
Oh.
And then, pero yung mga analysts, yung mga commentators, parang feel nila, sa tingin namin, Xbox wants to sell the subscription more than the Xbox itself.
Yep.
And it's a really good deal, Marts. Kasi, look ang yung comparable subscription service sa PlayStation is the PlayStation Plus. Diba? And then with the PS5, they came out with the collection, PlayStation Plus collection, which is 20 games? 20 amazing games. Ganda ng games. Pero it doesn't change. The library never changes. 20 lang yun. Who knows? They might add. Pero it's just 20 games. Whereas the Xbox Game Pass Ultimate is 100 games.
Pati kasi yung unang library sa Xbox na una, parang yung backward compatibility.
Yun, grabe din yun. The backwards compatibility of the Xbox goes all the way back to the Xbox, the original Xbox. Whereas PS...
And 60 frames yung mga dating hindi 60 frames.
And auto HDR.
Yep.
Auto HDR. So, panalo doon yung Xbox backwards compatibility.
Tama.
The game library on the subscription service is awesome, man.
Yep.
100 games. Tapos, nagbabago siya per month. So, imagine this month, Outer Worlds, Jedi Fallen Order. So, they're really like AAA games. And then aside from that, you get discounts. With same lang sa PS Plus. You get discounts. You get to play multiplayer online. But the thing that the PlayStation doesn't have is being able to play all those games on the PC.
Tama.
So you can play all those games on the Xbox, you can play it all on the PC, and then here's the kicker. You can play it on your Android phone.
Sa phone.
Yes, remotely.
Doon ako na mind blown na
Ako din eh.
they're pushing game streaming.
Pero syempre yung internet mo kailangan hindi bobo. Kasi pag bobo yung net mo, wala rin. Kahit malakas PC mo at malakas yung signal mo or whatever.